So the pandemic, it changed everything, right? But why did you let the cars start up again?
First of all, Stacey, great to see you, and hi everybody. It's wonderful to be with you. Honored to be in the midst of so many brilliant thinkers and doers and great minds. So to answer your question, we are creatures of habit, and people automatically jump into their cars for everything. And so, yes, you're right. Once the pandemic started subsiding a little bit, although we're not quite there yet, clearly we are animals of habit, and you see vehicle miles traveled going up. And even in the midst of a lot of telework, VMT is going up because, think about it, you're at home working and you say to yourself, it's 11 a.m., I'm gonna go run some errands, I'm gonna hop in the car, go to the store, go to the bank, go to wherever, and traffic is heavy throughout the day, not just during traditional AM and PM peak. Traffic is constant, and that's the reality. So that's human nature, and obviously what we're trying to do at the state level is to encourage greater mode shift. And we can get into that more, but we've got to get people to get out of their cars at least once a week, if not more. Take transit, rail, scooter, e-bike, walk. We've got to do that if we're going to have any chance of meeting our very ambitious climate goals.
I love that. Okay, yeah, let's get it. Woo woo. Okay, I just, wow, you rushed in there all of a sudden. I was going to give you some softballs. Like, I heard you grew up in Davis, and we love Davis.
Yeah, I spent my childhood growing up in Davis, and like everybody in Davis, you have to get around by bike. Wide bike lanes, road everywhere. It was a blast. There are more bikes than cars, more bikes than people. I think it's per capita 1 point something bikes per people. And so you grow up in a place like Davis, bike culture becomes a part of your life, and you carry that forward. And so really fortunate to have grown up in a bike culture kind of town.
Okay, so the big question is, because you've gotten around. You were in LA, you went to DC, now you're back home in California. And so do you have a bike of your own in Sacramento?
Actually, I don't need a bike in Sacramento because there are jump bikes in Sacramento. And I live and work very close to the office when I do go in. And so for the first time ever, I've been able to walk to work. That's never happened before. Or can jump on a jump bike or scooter. So that's what I do. That's how I get to work when I'm not teleworking.
I love it. Jump bikes are my favorite bikes in the world. And my favorite share bikes in the world. And I don't know, do we have to call them Lime bikes? I don't know. I'm sure someone will let me know that. On the other hand, I rode an e-bike here today from San Francisco. And if you play your cards right, maybe I'll let you try it out as well. But there's lots of good stuff out here. You should check it out. And now I've done a lot of talking here. And Garen, your press guy, he tells me I should ask you about CalSTA. Can you explain what that is and why we should care about it?
It's a very funny acronym. It stands for Climate Action Plan for Transportation Infrastructure, or CalSTA. And if you go back a couple years, 2 years ago this month, Governor Newsom issued his first executive order on climate change. That launched a series of executive orders. And in that executive order, he called on us at the State Transportation Agency to come up with a way to invest our limited transportation dollars in a way that reduces our carbon footprint, encourages greater mode shift. So CalSTA is the plan. And we put that out just a couple months ago. And this is going to change the paradigm in terms of how we invest in transportation projects in California, the kinds of projects we choose. And so it's all about, as I said earlier, encouraging greater mode shift. So through CalSTA, we are going to walk away from the long-standing practice of road widening, highway widening, and we're going to move, thanks. And we're going to move aggressively towards walking and biking, transit and rail, high-speed rail, micromobility options, especially in underserved communities that have borne the brunt of pollution for so very long. So this is a huge shift. And if you think about it, for the longest time, since forever, there has been one default option to solving a transportation problem, and that is to widen a road. That's been the way we've done it for decades, maybe centuries. If there's a problem, let's widen a road. But that's got to stop. And we are going to, because if we keep doing things the same way we've always done them, if we keep investing our dollars with the same projects, the same solutions, we're going to have more of the same. More congestion, more angst, limited mobility options, more harm for disadvantaged communities of color. So this is all about changing the conversation, changing the paradigm, and that's what CalSTA is all about. I will say it was a very difficult conversation with a lot of people in the transportation world who wanted to keep things the same way they've always been. But we're about transformational change, and it's got to start now. So that's what CalSTA is all about.
Oh my gosh, this sounds amazing. So the reason that I rode a bike from San Francisco to Richmond is because yesterday I found out that the Transportation Authority of Marin County has done a study that would like to take the Richmond-San Rafael bike lane away and use it for cars during the commute hour, as if people on bikes don't actually commute. I have never ridden the Richmond-San Rafael Bridge. That's why I borrowed an e-bike today, because I didn't think 32 miles is something that I would necessarily be able to do on my acoustic bike. So I rode that today, and I am in absolute shock that, well, first of all, we can talk about the signage and how much, like the way of getting there is a whole thing. And the Golden Gate Bridge, Jean, do you wanna, we're gonna talk about this here? All of the things that are, the construction equipment, et cetera, and all the things that get put in the way for cyclists and pedestrians, but not in the way for cars. And so are you gonna take our bike lane away on the Richmond-San Rafael Bridge?
If it's up to me, no. And that bike lane on the Richmond-San Rafael Bridge is fairly new, a couple years at most. And it took a long time to get there. Caltrans did it. And I've not heard of this proposal until you just mentioned it, but Caltrans owns and operates that bridge. If Marin County wants to use the bike lane for other purposes, that's a Caltrans decision, not a Marin County decision. They're going to have to come talk to us about it. So I've not heard it before, but if it were up to me, we've got to keep bike access as open as possible. And so obviously we got to hear more about this proposal and go from there.
Okay. And so with that, I will say it would have taken me 50% less time if there was a bike lane on the Bay Bridge. When can we see a bike lane on the Bay Bridge just the way there is on the other bridges?
Great question. We've talked to a lot of people about that. A lot of legislators in the East Bay have made the case for a bike lane on the east span of the Bay Bridge. We're looking into that. We're looking into all options,
the
including...
The west span. The east span.
Oh, okay, right. And also looking at improving the approaches to the Bay Bridge as you approach the, electronic toll plaza, no longer operated by humans. And so we're looking at all of those options. We understand the need for greater bike access. So similar to what's been done on Richmond-San Rafael, maybe someday in the future, the same will happen with the Bay Bridge. So stay tuned.
Okay, because we would like to take the lane, which is part of the California Vehicle Code. When a lane is not provided, we may take the lane. And so this is what we would like to do, because it doesn't really make much sense for me to have to bike 32 miles to get here today when I could have probably just, what is it, anyone? I don't know, 17 or something like that from San Francisco to here. It would be, it only makes sense in this day and age when we're talking about, trying to save the planet from burning and stuff,
I hear you all the way, and you've got my commitment to keep plugging away and looking at that.
Okay. Now, all right. Is there any parting comments that you'd like to give in terms of how you would like things to change or be different? You said transformational, and I got all excited because we need a whole bunch of that.
Well, you know, the times we're living in really require us to think differently, act differently, and choose our transportation investments differently. We've all learned about that through the pandemic, that life will never be the same again. It should not be. We've got to be better than that. And so this is our moment, perhaps a once-in-a-lifetime moment in transportation to do things better, differently, and focus on active transportation, rail and transit, micromobility options, reduce those vehicle miles traveled, reduce our dependency on solo driving, which all of us are guilty of doing, maybe not you, but many of us. And for the sake of the planet, as you said, climate change is here. We have to approach this with a sense of urgency. And so transportation has to be part of the solution. We're part of the problem, we're going to be part of the solution, and it's going to take all of us to really approach this with urgency.
All right, I'm so excited. Okay, well, thank you so much, Secretary Kim. I'm so glad you could be here today and that we could hear the good words from Sacramento. And we look forward to the bike lanes we have staying, and may they multiply all across the state.
All right, well, thank you, Stacey, for the conversation. This was fun. Great to see you all, and have a great day.